Paul Allen is the team leader for Hockey Ministries Ontario. He works with chaplains right across the country. Paul, this has been a very difficult time. How did you feel and react when you heard what had happened to the Humboldt Broncos?
Obviously, at the beginning, it's shock. And then I think it's a numbing, and continues to be a numbing sadness, that there is just a long journey of grief ahead for these dear people, and you just deeply, deeply feel for them.
Hockey, of course, is huge in Canada, and I, of course, have a strong connection to Saskatchewan, been in many of those towns. I've worked in, with junior hockey teams. A community like Humboldt or Nipawin, where the team was traveling to, they love hockey. It is such an important part of the culture.
Very much so. I always like to say that hockey is a great game, but it's a terrible god. And Canada sometimes, I think, gets a bit confused as to whether it's a game or a god. And certainly right here in Toronto, we're all anticipating, the playoff run that's going to happen, and it will occupy the news streams and everything else. But it is, if you want to understand Canada, I think you have to understand the role hockey plays in it.
You must have been tremendously proud of Sean Brando, your chaplain, pastor out in Humboldt. Just what an amazing job he did under incredible circumstances. But that's why you have chaplains in there to bring hope and help to these young men.
Absolutely. Sean obviously spoke deeply from his own heart. And Sean did not drop into that situation, but he had been part of the team for 4 or 5 years. And if you just to hear him speak, he planned games for them to play away from it. He provided meals for them, all of those things. So he built a friendship and a trust. And nothing would have prepared Sean for what he drove up and arrived at to see the scene the way it was. But certainly the Lord sustained him and will continue to, as he will be Jesus' presence in the midst of this very, very sad situation.
I've been involved with Hockey Ministries years ago, and it was very difficult to get into many of the junior teams, and certainly the NHL. That's even changed. Why has there been a change? Why have you had more opportunity to have chaplains with a lot of these junior teams and beyond?
Well, I think there's a change in the culture, in that I think the culture is now open to anything. And so I think that's one of the reasons. The second thing is that we have been involved in the difficult situations, and teams have actually ended up that wouldn't have us as a chapel program, but when something has happened, such as a tragedy, a death, they have turned to us. And I think more and more teams are seeing that while we want to bring the person of Jesus Christ right into the dressing room, there is a character element to what we do, but there's also a whole other area of bringing the big issues of life to the fore into the lives of the players.
You think about these young players, and I think the youngest one that passed away was 16 years old. But, and a lot of these guys came from even Alberta, several of them from the community I live in St. Albert. So they're sending them to another province. For the parents, that's pretty scary. They want to know that there are people there that are looking after them.
There are actually teams that are using Hockey Ministries as a recruiting tool, that when parents are asking these tough questions, they're going, well, we do have this chaplain, and they'll have our chaplains often at the introductory dinners, just to bring some peace to the parents' minds. But it's a huge issue for young players to be living away from home.
And even for your NHL, why do you think that has opened up?
Again, well, I think because it has been such an impact at the junior level and at the minor pro level. We're in the East Coast League, well, actually called the ECHL now. We're most teams in the American League. And as it's filtered up through the junior players coming up, they've wanted to have chapels. And so now I think we're in 26 or 27 of the 31 NHL teams.
Well, I'm so glad that, Hockey Ministries International and Sean Brando, who was there at such an important time. And we need to be praying for people like Sean, the others that are dealing with this tragedy. It's been horrible, but I am so glad that, you and your organization have been there to bring hope, Paul. Thank you.
Well, thank you.